Hi there, and welcome to our weekly craft, a source for ideas, inspiration, and fun for crafters. I'm Sarah White, chief maker at ourdailycraft.com, and today I want to talk about commercialization of holidays and observances and marketing and all of that, and how it affects us in crafting and how it is in the wider world and what's appropriate and what's not with the current holidays that are happening this week as I speak this. I'm not wearing anything knit today. I had a little shrug on earlier that I was going to show you guys, and I don't actually remember who the designer is, and it's also too hot even just sitting in my office for any kind of woolen item today. So black t-shirt it is. I do have a sock I wanted to show you though, and I knit this sock while I was on vacation. This yarn, you can see the rainbow yarn. I dyed with leftovers from my daughter's tie-dye birthday party last year, and it's been sitting on my shelf for like a year almost. I knew I wanted to make socks with it, and then when I wound it into balls I was like, oh, that's not very much yarn. So I added the pink heel and toe and cuff to make the rainbow yarn go a little farther, and of course then I had leftover because I had wound it into two balls and was doing toe up so that I could make them as long as the yarn would allow, and the sock got as long as I wanted it to be, and I still had yarn left over, so that's fine because I'll use it for something else and it's cool. It could be the toe of another sock or something else entirely, who knows. But I did not mean to be knitting rainbow socks during Pride, but it just happened that I was having vacation and wanted to knit a sock while I was gone. So, but it is sort of an interesting segue into a craft related problematic episode, I guess. I don't know the word. While I was away, We Crochet, which is, I believe, the crochet arm of Knit Picks. I don't get their emails or anything because I'm more of a knitter, but they sent an email talking about knitting with all the colors of the rainbow, which, you know, is a fine message for Pride, right? But the subject line on it was something like, June is Rainbow Enthusiast Month. Didn't mention that it was Pride, didn't mention, you know, LGBTQ community. It was just bad. Like, it was just rainbow enthusiasts. No. So you can imagine that this did not go over well. And then they quickly issued sort of a non-apology about overlooking the fact that it's Pride. And a few days later, there was a more thoughtful apology or statement. I don't know if it was even still an apology, but that basically saying, yeah, we really messed this up. And of course, we, you know, honor and support the LGBTQ community. You know, we have members of our staff who were hurt by this because they are members of that community and felt erased by that statement. And, you know, I don't know how that's going to go over for members of the LGBTQ community who might have supported and bought yarn from them in the past, who might not in the future. I don't really know. But it was like a really good example of how terribly wrong things can go when you're acknowledging and when you're not acknowledging the world around you, I guess. My daughter was reading a magazine the other day. She's 12, and she was looking at a thing about Pride, and she said, I hate that Pride exists because it's, you know, the support of that community should be all the time, and we shouldn't have to have a holiday or a month, or, you know, just like Women's History Month shouldn't have to be a thing, just like Hispanic Heritage Month or Black History Month shouldn't have to be a thing, because those should be things that we're doing all the time. They should be communities that we're honoring and paying attention to and learning from all the time. And I totally agree with that, though. Of course, Pride has its own historic roots in the gay liberation movement, and, you know, we've seen the memes that Pride, the original Pride was a riot, and it was, because it was, you know, at Stonewall, it was commemorated by Pride to this day. But I see your point. You know, I mean, obviously we should be caring about and talking about and supporting these communities all the time. But here we are in this world where we have these months and these days that are for different communities. And how do we as marketers and crafters, I mean, we're not all marketers, obviously, but how the rest of the world approaches that is sometimes good and sometimes bad. And it's hard to know, like when you're looking at something, is that appropriate? Sometimes it's hard to know. Obviously, Rainbow Enthusiast Month is not appropriate. So just as I was getting ready to come and film this, I was scrolling Instagram during my daughter's piano lesson, and I saw a post by Laura Edmondson, which I'll link in the show notes. And it was about Juneteenth, which is also coming up as I film this. And, you know, basically about what Juneteenth is, why it's a holiday now, how it's celebrated, how it was celebrated historically, and how it is celebrated now. And a big, I mean, it was about a lot of things, and it's important if you don't know about Juneteenth to check that out. But one of the slides was, you know, how is it celebrated, and saying that, you know, if you're a Black person, you can celebrate it however you like. You know, there are parades, there are picnics, it's a celebration. If you are not Black, this is not for you. You know, if you're invited, you are free to go to Juneteenth celebrations, but it's not about you. And, you know, be prepared to take a sideline, you know, bring your money to support Black businesses who are there, but it's not about you. And it is not a marketing opportunity. And I feel like that's a thing that sadly companies need to be told, you know, maybe more often than just for Juneteenth, but that not every observance is meant to be a marketing opportunity. And I can sort of understand that companies want to appear like they care about different communities in the world, that they, you know, are not ignoring an event or a holiday that is important to a group who might be spending money with them, you know, and so that it might also feel weird, like if you don't do some kind of email about Pride or some kind of email about Juneteenth or whatever observance or holiday is happening at that time. But it's a time to be really mindful, especially if you're not in that community yourself. Like I, as a white person, have a different perspective on Juneteenth that is not welcome, even as I'm talking about it, right? But I'm using that as a wider point that, you know, it's not always for you. And you know, that needs to be okay, and you can acknowledge that Juneteenth exists without trying to sell things. And I feel that about Memorial Day too, because it's, you know, a holiday that we've taken to be like the beginning of summer, it's vacation time, it's grilling, whatever, sell some furniture, but that's not, Memorial Day is a solemn holiday. It's about honoring war dead. It's not about barbecues. I'm not saying that it's necessarily better to not say anything in when these holidays and observances happen, but it is important to be really mindful of what you're saying and how it's perceived, and how you, if you're trying to sell something, how that can come off as tacky or inappropriate, or, you know, when this is not a celebration that's for you, or when you call it Rainbow Enthusiast Month instead of Pride. And so for me, some of this goes back to when the war in Ukraine started. I did a piece about what crafters can do in a crisis. And I feel like some of those thoughts come into play around things like Pride and other observances that are specific to a certain community, you know, that it's important to be mindful of supporting that community and not just being like, oh, it's Pride, I want to sell some rainbow stuff, right? And I'm going to call it Pride, and we're gonna just make some money because everybody's looking for rainbow stuff right now. And it's fine to design rainbow things and sell them all year, and to make people aware of them when they're looking for rainbow things. But I do like the idea of, maybe a percentage of your sales go to a local support network for LGBTQ youth, or whatever speaks to you, and that you're not just marketing rainbow stuff for the sake of marketing rainbow stuff at the time of year when people are looking for rainbow stuff. I don't know what the answer is to how do you sell stuff and not make it feel icky. But I feel like that all year. It's not just related to holidays that I feel like that. So I don't know. I guess it's just having a heart all the time and being mindful of communities that you are a part of and communities that you aren't a part of. It's educating yourself. So I guess it was a couple weeks ago now that I talked about all of the reading that I was planning to do while I was on vacation, and I actually managed to do most of it. I finished The Firekeeper's Daughter, which I told you about. It was good. I didn't like the end, and I don't really remember why, but I didn't enjoy the end very much. And I read The Maid, which is a murder mystery that takes place in a hotel, and the maid is framed for murder, and she is neurodivergent, and so there's a lot of like her trying to understand what's happening, and making friends is hard, and having people she can trust is hard, and how she teams up with some people to prove her innocence. I feel like either I was really, really not paying attention when I was reading it, or it was not possible to solve who actually did it, based on the clues that were given in the book until she told the full story at the end. That may have been a fault of my reading, though, so I can't like say that it was bad. I mean, that was an enjoyable read anyway, but I was kind of, when I got to the end, I was like, really? That's not cool. But I may have just not been paying attention. So I was reading on the beach, admittedly. And then after that, I read The Book of Lost Names, which is World War II drama. It's about a young woman who becomes a forger who in France, and is forging documents for the resistance to help get children out of France into Switzerland, and other people in the resistance as well. And it's sweet. Like, I'm not sure I loved the ending of it too, but it was sweet. And then let's see, I just started Project Hail Mary, which was the last, like, if I ran out of all the other things, books, and I didn't quite run out of all the other things, so I just started that since we've been home. And it's Andy Weir, and it's about a man who wakes up on a spaceship and he has amnesia, and he's trying to figure out why he's on this spaceship and what's happening. All the other crew members are dead, and it turns out that there's this microorganism that is siphoning power out of the sun, and he's apparently on this mission to help fix it or move them, or whatever is happening to solve the problem so that the sun doesn't lose its power, which would destroy life as we know it on the planet, right? It's pretty good so far. I've read probably about 100 pages of that one so far. And it seems like we've got a million things to watch right now. Like, summer has been good for us for viewing options. We've watched only the first episode of the new Stranger Things season, so we're behind, no spoilers. We have watched the first 3 of Obi-Wan. There's only been 1 episode so far of the 3rd season of For All Mankind, which if you don't watch, that's a great one. It's on Apple TV. It's an alternative history related to the space race. And so it's about the Russians get to the moon first. And so America becomes really heavily invested in, staying on, colonizing. It's not quite colonized, but they set up a base on the moon, and the Russians set up a base on the moon, and it's, you know, the Cold War is basically a space. I mean, it's all the other stuff it was too, but there's also a space component to it. And in the third season, it is, I believe, 1996. And well, it's not 1996 yet. It's 92, I guess, when it starts. And both the United States and Russia have declared that they are going to have a manned mission to Mars in 1996. And so that's the season, is, you know, them getting ready for that. And there's space tourism happening in the early 90s, and it's very alternate history, but it's really well done, and it's a really good show. What else? I feel like there's more even than that, but there's a lot. Oh, I'm watching Julia as my workout. I think I told you about that before, that it's about Julia Child, and I'm almost done with that. But it's been fun, light, and I like things about food while I'm working out. I don't know why. So yeah, that's about it for this week. I hope that if you are celebrating Pride, Juneteenth, or both this week, this month, that you're safe and stay cool. It's really, really hot. Pride is this weekend where I live, and I'd like to go, but it's really hot. Ugh, really hot. So I probably will cheer from home on that one this year again. And I hope that whatever you're doing, that you're getting some crafting in, and I would love to know what you're working on, reading, watching, etc. I hope that you have a crafty week, and I will see you again soon.